Good afternoon. This is Jim Whitehead of All Power Group and Phoenix Animal. Today we are the Phoenix Animal, and I hope you'll enjoy this because I always think animals will do a better job in a lot of things that we try to do and don't do real well. So what we're doing today is we're doing a script that uses animals, the best of the best, to mimic the political atmosphere. And I know you're probably saying, oh, that doesn't make any sense. But the bottom line is animals are smart, and they, generally speaking, don't have a bunch of hidden agendas. So when your dog either likes you or doesn't like you, they're not saying, well, I'm going to like them because they're going to take me to the moon. No, they like you because they like you. Anyway, today it's going to be with a focus on the satirical elements. Okay. Now, that is what we call, it's a barn, but it's called the White House barn. Pretty good looking, actually. And the title is The Great Administration Brawl, and the characters, and that's the inside of the White House barn with all of what they need to do their work. Now, let's talk about the bosses. Okay, this is what you're looking at is the administration organizational chart. And there's 5 members, and I will go through each one of these and you'll see how they work together to solve the world's problems. And we have a lot of problems, and we're certainly hoping it's going to get better. Okay, first of all, we've got Boss Bison. He's the president. And, you know, as you would look at him, you'd say, yeah, that's a good president. He's a large, blustering bison with a questionable grasp of facts. That's pretty true to life, right? Now we also have, the next one is, the news anchor is Fox Newsy. So, you know, Fox Newsy is a sleek, overly enthusiastic fox. Okay, now we have Eagle McFly, former advisor, a disheveled eagle with a penchant for conspiracy theories. And you know, unfortunately, a lot of people live in conspiracy theories. Now, being fair, some of the theories could be true. Some of them are not true, or not even close, or some are a little close. So you got to be real careful not to grab onto conspiracy theories and act like they're real. Okay, the next member of the team is the Badger Barrister, the Attorney General. Now, I know you're saying he or she looks like Pam Bundy. Hey, I didn't try to do that. So, you know, and just, you know, I'll throw a little political commentary every once in a while. It appears our Attorney General is angry all the time. Every time I see her, she says very bad things about people that she doesn't even know. Like the judge that they arrested in her courtroom, or either over the weekend or the end of last week, she was calling her deranged. Why is she deranged? You know, as this judge in the courtroom, when 5 ICE members without uniforms came into her courthouse, you've got to, there's the rule of law. And what needs to be done if you're going to try to take somebody into custody. And in her case, she's saying, you don't even have a warrant for this person, or you're not showing me a warrant. So how would that poor judge know whether this is real or not real? So then they try to act like she protected him, and he was found guilty, by the way, because this gentleman had come into her court for doing something, and she found him not guilty. And then she said, wait a minute, I don't get this whole thing as to these 5 guys standing and sitting out there without any proof of anything. And this is where we got to be very careful, because we all deserve and we have rights. And before people get arrested, A, there's got to be a crime. 2, they have to prove who they are. And in most cases, they have to have a warrant for somebody's arrest. I mean, really simple. I mean, this is where you get into where the Attorney General is acting stupid, mean, and then she just calls the judge deranged. And, we all could be a little deranged. I get it. I'm 75 and I could be totally out to lunch. But if I kept saying right now, all you folks that are watching this, and by the way, thank you for being here, if you are, but I could say, all the people watching me are deranged. One, you'd say, that's a weird thing for Jim, who's trying to build a YouTube channel, just automatically calling everybody that's watching it deranged, crazy, whatever. But you get into where they talk about, if I say somebody else is deranged, I might just be transferring my derangement to that person. So they're not really deranged, I am. So let's all be careful and follow the law. Follow the Constitution. Some say, well, the Constitution isn't perfect. Heck, it was written, 200 and something years ago? And look how well they've done. And everything that's happening in the administration now, they're trying to just, we don't care about the Constitution. In fact, Trump wants to use it for toilet paper. No, not acceptable. And I know you're saying, Jim, you're an Animal Channel. What are you talking about? I'm part of the community. I'm a citizen in the United States. I've been here for, I was born 75 years ago. Have I gotten in trouble a little bit here and there? Well, a little bit, but nothing really big, nothing ever where I was in jail, some accidents, driving and drinking. Don't tell anybody. When I was much younger and stupid. But luckily, as we get older, before we start to totally go out in left field, we are able to, as you get older, say, well, that's not a good idea. Driving and drinking is stupid. So I'm actually glad I'm here, or blessed I'm here. Anyway, Badger barrister, a stern badger fiercely loyal to Boss Bison. Does that sound familiar? Okay, the next team member, Squirrel Spinney. I guess he spins news. Press secretary. That's another. I don't want to just keep relating this because, I'm going to make the animals feel bad. If I keep saying, in this case, spinny, meaning kind of you spin things as press secretary, do you think that is happening. She does the same thing. I think her name is Caroline, in the sense of not telling the truth and spinning it. You know, this poor gentleman that was sent to El Salvador, there's still debate as to whether he ever should have gone there, because there was nothing done before he left. Judges try to say, wait a minute. In our country, you are presumed innocent until you are shown that you're being guilty. And the Trump administration just bypasses all that and just says, I don't want that person here, so I'm going to send him. Judge said, no, don't send him. You can't send him. He has not been proven to have a problem. Still did it. And then they all act dumb. Well, you know, we can't bring him back. Why not? So then they had the gentleman from, I guess it's El Salvador, I hope I'm not saying that wrong. And he's like, no, I can't send him back. And then the Trump administration says, no, we can't bring him back. No good answer. Anyway, Squirrel Spinny, a nervous squirrel, constantly trying to smooth things over. You know, the thing is, what's real funny about this is you get into where when people lie to you, sometimes the lies are very, very good. And, you know, unfortunately, scams happen because people lie to you and you believe it. And I got scammed a year ago, actually, March. And, you know, I generally, even at 75, I trust people. Well, there's so much scamming out there that I hate to say it's sad, but you don't know who the heck you can trust, really. Anyway, there they are. They're in a chaotic office filled with half-eaten hay and scattered documents. Okay, the boss Bison is pacing. Fox Newsy is on a screen. Computer screen. And Spinny is sweating profusely. Fox Newsy, and now live from the Oval Barn, we have breaking news. Boss Bison, the president, has just tweeted, or rather bellowed, that the radical chicken coop is trying to steal upcoming corn harvest, the upcoming storm harvest. So, Boss Bison, it's true. They're rigging the silos with fake corn. Sad. Squirrel Spinny, wiping his brow. What the Boss Bison means is that there are concerns about the integrity of the agricultural process. And, you know, the neatest thing with us having half a brain, I guess, you know, we luckily don't believe everything and shouldn't believe everything. And we're doing our best to hang in there and try to have a reasonable outcome of what's going on right now. Okay, now Eagle McFly bursts into the room, feathers ruffled. I told you, it's the deep burrow. They're controlling the weather patterns with their underground tunnels. Now, this might go along with President Trump, for whatever reason, said, and remember, I'm 75 years old, we're going to take the Gulf of Mexico, which has always been the Gulf of Mexico in any point that I can remember, way before me, and because he says I can, which I don't think he really can, change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And as you know, he's also trying to take over Canada. He's thinking that, if he beats them up enough, messes up their economy enough, that the fake artificial line between the two countries was just drawn with a ruler. If somebody had to draw a straight line on a map, you would hope they would use a ruler or some type of drafting device that you do a straight line. And occasionally it will dip a little here and there, only related to, let's say, streams or things that they feel can be part of, and they have to kind of decide. They don't want to cut a lake right in the middle, in a sense. Like half is Canada, the other half is the United States, especially the conditions we're in now. So if I had a boat and there's a lake that's cut in the middle up on the, north United States border and the South Canada border, and they, instead of logically following that in that particular section, the outline of that lake, and they go right through the middle, they could have it where I have my boat and I can only go halfway across into the lake, because if I keep going, I'm now going to go from the United States to Canada. And, they have border entrances that they have to make sure we're not having bad people coming into either side. So having it where, you logically draw a border, in a lot of the states of the United States, they have weird borders, and a lot of times it's related again to a river that they wouldn't want to say, and it does happen. If it goes east-west and they have to come down with a north-south border, you won't be tested on this. They would say, the river's there, the river's there. But if it is going north-south and the border's going to be north-south, they try to use, areas that are actually in there, like a river, yada, yada, yada. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, moving on. Badger barrister slamming a paw on the desk. Enough. The Boris Bison pronouncements are not to be questioned. We have irrefutable evidence which we will release eventually. Now, there we go. That's another thing that this happens. We say something, but we're not going to prove it, even though we can, but we're not going to. You go, huh? That doesn't make any sense. So, here we go. And we try to, go along with some of these things, but you just find it's weird. Anyway, all right, now, Fox Newsy. This is explosive. Now, as you know, and I don't have to tell you, that Fox Newsy, the Fox, is from the Fox News. And I don't even call it news. It's kind of like sensationalized yellow journalism. And if they grab onto someone, and again, if let's say you had 25 news organizations and one of them is Fox, and I know I get a little more political than I have been, and but it's just, this is my way of saying how I feel and pointing out, and if anybody watches it, some would say, I'm a Republican and I'll never watch you again. But in general, we try to use humor to show that maybe things aren't logical, and that, we don't want to have it where we, are wrong. Okay, Fox Newsy says, could this be the biggest barnyard scandal since the Great Gopher Hole debacle? Question mark. Well, the squirrel Spinny, trying to regain control, poor thing. Let's just focus on the facts. The boss bison is working tirelessly to ensure a bountiful harvest for all the animals. Boss Bison, the president, yeah, and we're going to build a big, beautiful fence. And the chickens are going to pay for it. Remember in Trump's first, how we were counting the days when that was going to end. And you know, the funny thing with Trump, I hate to say, we would watch him, and you want to like your president. You really do. And I can't say all through my life there's been a lot of presidents I just don't like, trust, or believe anything they say. Well, here we are. So, you know, in the first term, Trump was like, we're going to build a wall on the southern border, and Mexico is going to pay for it. And that's similar to, in his second administration, saying, I will end the Ukraine-Russian war the day after I go into office. Well, it's been over 100 days now. How well has that gone? And, you know, building the wall, we paid for it. They kind of said, why would we build a wall? You know, the reason why people were trying to come to the United States is because we were a better country. We had great opportunities. And thanks to Trump's tariffs and other things his folks have done, we have stepped our country back, and every day it keeps going on, into a hole. And every day the hole gets deeper. And if we joke, if we keep going, and we used to think this when we were kids, if we dug a deep enough hole, we would come out in China. So maybe that's one way the U.S. will try to get to China, is instead of working out a deal with pricing back and forth, we'll just dig a hole and we'll come out in China. They can sneak goods into the United States from that hole. I know. What I'm saying sounds stupid and ridiculous and hopefully a little funny, but we probably would do better with a big hole to China. Anyway, so yeah, they're going to tell this, they're going to build the fence, and they're going to make the chickens pay for the fence. Okay, now going to Eagle McFly. Beautiful eagle. And I've got proof. I found these ancient scrolls. They talk about lizard people controlling the grain supply. Wow. Now, the Badger Barrister, those scrolls are classified. You're violating the barnyard security. We don't seem to have any security for anything anymore. Yeah, I collect Social Security, and yeah, I do YouTube to hopefully try to earn some money someday. But Social Security is right now my only income. No one wants to hire a 75-year-old guy, and it isn't that, you know, I'm old for my age, but I'm 75. But I know a lot, and luckily, my mind hasn't gone yet. And believe it or not, if I was just sitting around reading all day, yada yada, having not much to do, I might be going in that direction, in a sense of being a little bit, how do you say, dementia? And unfortunately, my mother, her name was Trudy, she was the most wonderful mother one could ever have. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, you all say that about your mother. I get it, but she was. And in fact, when I say my prayers at night, I visualize, because my mother was a bookkeeper. I wouldn't call her an accountant, but she was on that kind of level. And she got paid as a bookkeeper instead of an accountant. She didn't have a degree in accounting, but she was very good. And she did bookkeeping for many, many, many years. And I joke and say, if God has to have somebody with accounting skills in heaven, he'd be working with my mom. And I thank her every day for helping me. And say, God, you're lucky to have her. Make sure you give her a good pay and plenty of vacation. Anyway. Okay, now back to Newsy. This is Fox Newsy. We're getting reports of mass confusion outside the barn. Animals are panicking. The squirrel Spinny, his voice cracking, everything is fine, perfectly fine. Please just buy some more corn. The scene descends into chaos, with the boss bison president bellowing, Eagle McFly waving scrolls, Badger barrister threatening lawsuits, and Squirrel Spinny desperately trying to keep the peace. Fox Newsy continues to report, his voice filled with dramatic excitement. Fox Newsy, this is truly a historic moment. The barnyard is on the brick. Will order be restored, or will the cornfields descend into madness? Stay tuned. Okay, I know this. What we're saying is these key satirical elements, they're exaggerated, and I hope you respect that. So exaggerated personalities, the animals embody stereotypical political figures, amplifying their flaws for hopefully a comedic effect. You can get a lot more with being funny or trying to be funny than trying to be mean. So admittedly, that's kind of what I did. And yesterday I did one, Politics in the Middle, that was very humorous in the sense of the intent of things that Trump has done that are just hysterical, but also sad, because that's the highest office in the country. And I was brought up to respect the president. And unfortunately, what's happening now, the level and expectation of the president is dropping. And, all the time I was in business, I never lied to people. And I told you that, I think, yesterday. But, the scary part is almost anything that's being said now by the Republicans. They basically don't tell the truth. They just don't. And the scary part is Trump is so far gone into the lying world that I think he just doesn't know what's true and what's not true. So when he says something, he's thinking it must be true. I saw today he's talking about gasoline has gone down, eggs have gone down, food's gone down, etc., etc. And guess what? None of that is true. So if I believed him, can I go to, let's say, let's use Walmart. Let's pick on Walmart for a minute. Nothing against Walmart. And I go in and the eggs are 20 cents more than they were when I went in last week. I would be able, because the president said the eggs are coming down, that I'd be able to say to anybody, you know, come over here. I need to talk to you about these eggs in Walmart. The president said these are supposed to be cheaper. What would that person say? Well, I can't even probably tell you because I'd be swearing. But they wouldn't be able to say, well, okay, we'll mark them down for you. Yep. No. Eggs have to be down before you can say eggs are down. It's that simple. Conspiracy theories. Oh my God, we can go on and on and on and all the conspiracy theories and pedophiles and oh my God, we can go on and on and on. Okay, Eagle McFly's ramblings satirize the spread of misinformation, media sensationalism, Foxy Newsy, over-the-top reporting marks the tendency of news outlets to exaggerate events. Political jargon. The script uses phrases like radical chicken coop and deep burrow to parody political rhetoric. Chaos and confusion. The overall scene reflects the often chaotic nature of modern politics. Animal Farm allusions. The use of the barnyard and the general way the political figures interact is a direct call back to the book Animal Farm. Now that goes back to when many years ago. So watch out what books you write. By the way, I wrote a book on coffee. It's right over there. I've never written a book before, but it's all about coffee because I had a coffee business for a while. I wish I still did, but coffee's going way up. Anyway, so I hope you find this script both funny and insightful, because again, it does highlight some of the weird actions that is going on right now. You know, there's many online opportunities. One is called Substack. And there's some very good people, Michael Cohen, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names, but some of the very good, positive people that recognize that we're in a hole and the hole is getting deeper. And they, of course, personify that hole, but until somebody gets off their butt, and that's technically the Republican Congress, we're going to keep digging a hole. And I have, even though I never worked around or for Trump, but we recognized anybody that gets involved with Donald Trump will lose. And I've said through many of my presentations, my goal has always been win-win. Trump is basically win-lose. He wants to win, and he wants to make sure you lose. And the neatest thing in the reality of win-lose, win-win, if you have a win-win, you both win. One win doesn't take stuff from the other win. So you both work together and you have a win-win situation. What's wrong with that? And you know, if in all my business opportunities in my life, if I always look to have what we call a win-lose, where I win, you lose, how long is that going to last? I mean, you know, when you have a win-lose, sometimes it's scam. You know, I'm trying to win. I'm trying to have a win-win where we're working together. That person who is scamming me is winning, and if he does actually get some money, I lose. And there is so much scamming going on, it's scary. You know, it's like, go get a regular job. Work for peanuts if you want to. Now, the neat thing about YouTube, as long as you follow the rules, you have an opportunity to continue producing and having fun with content and learning things. And eventually, and I mean eventually, I've been doing this for a couple of years now, full time. I do other things, but you know, I do some stuff every day. You find that it's a good opportunity, but it's not easy. And even before I started it again full time, and anybody would say to me, "Oh, I've always wanted to do a YouTube channel," you say, you can, but it's not easy. And if you think, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to produce some videos and whatever," that you're going to put it up and you're going to be a millionaire, no. There's a lot of competition. And the neatest thing of what it does is it works on each YouTuber getting better at what they do, because they know if they just say, "Well, I don't care." Like yesterday, and I'm almost done, but yesterday, oh, by the way, thank you. If you stay to this end, it helps me big time. But yesterday, I did politics in the middle, and unfortunately, I had two cameras hooked up to one of my PCs, and one was affecting the other. And when I started, I'm saying, that doesn't make sense. It usually, because I only was on one camera. Well, I finished it, and then I played it back, and I said, you know, I have to check. The reason I look over every once in a while is not to look out the window, but to make sure my audio is at the level it should be, so I don't burst your eardrums. But, you know, and it was about 30 minutes, and this one's 39. I'm sorry, I could talk forever. But bottom line, I was like, you know, and they tell you don't delete anything. So I deleted it. Well, I went up to my site on YouTube, and I saw it only had 2 views. So I said, well, I can take it down, delete it. And I did the whole thing all over again and finished it. And it's fine. And I know today's will be fine, because what I did is I took the camera off this PC, you know, and this is live. yes, you can edit it a little bit when it's done, but not very much. So it's the first take, the only take. Anyway, thank you so much. You know, just keep hanging in there and realize that as a group, not just falling into line and doing what bad people tell us to do, we should be okay in the long run. But the hole's getting deeper every day. But anyway, thank you again. Really, really appreciate it. Take care.